One of the most insanely hyped mods has finally been released. This video will showcase all of the innovative content that the Starlight River mod has brought, such as cool new puzzle rooms, boss mechanics, unique weapons, and so much more. So first, let's go in progression order, beginning with Auroracle. This is a pretty hard mode squid boss that can be challenged at any time. It is found in the deep layer of the ice biome, and to enter its boss arena, it is super cool, requiring you to place any block onto this spot here and letting the projectile hit it. This will open up the ground and let you enter what has been dubbed the Ancient Cathedral. Just looking at it first glance, you can just see the amount of detail that went into this. Just look at those reflections. Anyways, when you reach the bottom, throwing a suspicious looking offering into the water below will begin the boss fight. And let me preface by saying you will need blocks for this fight, as well as some good mobility. I'll only be discussing expert mode attacks. Starlight River has reworked master mode AI, along with an impossibly difficult boss rush content. So that will be its own video. And with that being said, let's go over the boss fight. During this first phase, attacks will cycle between these telegraphed tentacle eruptions and firing these light projectiles in an arc. As you slowly chip away at its health, even the water below will begin to rise, and falling into the water will rapidly deplete your health. So yeah, don't do that. This introduces a new attack into the cycle, in which Auroracle's tentacles will converge towards a section of the arena, whilst the boss fires projectiles from below. As he reaches 50% HP, this is probably one of the most unique attacks ever, in which a laser will horizontally travel across the entire arena, requiring you to place blocks in order to block the attack. Never in my life have I seen a modded Terraria boss require me to place blocks during a boss fight, so that's big points for creativity. And just let me tell you that there is a lot more creative stuff that I will show you, so stay tuned. Auroracle's final phase is quite chaotic for an early game boss. It rapidly fires tentacles from every direction, as well as those light projectiles again. Overall, I quite enjoyed this boss fight. There was a wide array of unique attacks that were quite fun to learn. The drops from the treasure bag include the Aurora Crown, which lets you ride a summon mount with the left click firing tentacle whips, while the right click summoning explosive Aurora rings. The Aurora Bell is a sentry, and hitting it with a whip will ring the bell, damaging nearby enemies. The Tenta Lance launches a shimmering tentacle lance, and holding the left click charges up the weapon to fire 4 more additional lances. The Octagon converts musket balls into Auroracle wings. Critical hits or enemy kills spawn tentacle pistols from the player, which automatically fire at the cursor. The Overflowing Urn, unleashing a torrent of chilling winds. The Tentacle Hook, a super flexible grappling hook that allows you to move your mouse to hook around objects. The Squid Fins will be your expert mode job, and allows you to swim like a jellyfish. And lastly, 3 different technique accessories. The Mantis technique, allowing combos with broadswords, with the right click allowing you to parry attacks. The Tiger technique, which allows combos with axes, and its right click allowing you to throw them. And lastly, the Snake technique, which allows combos with spears, with the right click unleashing a flurry of stabs. Next up, we're heading to the underground desert, into the Vitric biome, home of the Ceiros boss fight. But in order to actually fight him, there's a couple steps you need to take, so let's go through all of them right now. As soon as you fall down, you'll notice the temple. However, we cannot access this yet without getting the key, so let's explore to the left, and soon enough, you'll meet the Glassweaver. He will give you some dialogue, but this is the next boss on the list. And can I just say, I love how when you enter these biomes, the entire background just changes, which is just so awesome. In this room, you can talk to the Glassweaver to begin the fight. He will summon increasingly difficult waves of enemies, which can consist of constructs that can block your projectiles, or snipers shooting you from afar. I was playing this on expert mode, but I didn't find this particularly difficult. Maybe because the Impact SMG is probably the most perfectly balanced weapon ever. Anyways, as soon as you defeat his minions, it's time for the real boss fight. The Glassweaver is a blacksmith, and therefore his attacks theme around fire. His main attack will be this orb move, in which he will cast a slow moving ball, and when he bounces off the surface, it will violently explode into pure chaos. I really love the visual effects of everything so far, and I'm super excited to see the future of this mod. When you defeat Glassweaver, he will provide you with a large forge key, and this is where the fun begins. Right click on any side of the temple, and as soon as you enter, not surprising at all, it looks stunning. This temple is full of puzzles, with the ultimate goal of obtaining the Cloudburst Dash ability. The first section is quite easy. Just kill some constructs in order to obtain a small forge key, and unlock the next room. As you can see, this room is full of cogs, with a cute little Magmite hamster wheel. You'll need to make the last cog spin in order to open the next gate, and to do that, you'll need to right click on these glowing cogs, which cycle between multiple sizes. This took me a while, but it wasn't too overly complicated. Look away now if you want to figure it out all for yourself, but this is the solution. And now onto the next room. This was so complicated to figure out at the beginning, but basically you need to make it so that the light hits the middle of the crystal. You can right click the swords and relics in order to adjust the direction and make it so the beam can bounce off each other. I'll just speed this up, but once you get to the bottom, you'll need to arc it to the left side and work the beam upwards, reflecting off the swords, and you'll eventually get it. This activates activates the forge and onto the final room, which gives us our cloud burst ability. And again with the amazing effects. Like, this mod is truly amazing. As you can probably tell, this ability allows your character to dash separate from your dash accessories, with another side benefit of being able to break these fragile crystals. With this newly obtained ability, you can work your way out of the temple and smash the crystal with your cloud burst. This spawns the giant arena with an altar in the middle, and using an idol will summon Ceiros. This is probably the most difficult boss for me personally, but also my favorite out of all the bosses so far. His first phase will shoot these fiery projectiles and even breathe fire from the boss. One unique mechanic you'll need to know for this fight is that you need to activate your cloud burst dash onto these glowing crystals when they appear, which make it so you can actually damage the boss during these phases. Other than that, he's your typical bullet hell boss with some visually stunning effects. Phase 2 is just more extreme bullet hells. Similarly to the first phase, you'll need to break these crystals, but now they can explode for massive damage. And he can even summon as many as to cover the entire arena, so breaking them is absolutely crucial. And yeah, that's the fight in a nutshell. As for its drops, the refractive blade slashes enemies in an arc. Holding the right click mouse button charges the blade, and releasing it will fire a laser, inflicting exposure on enemies. Recursive focus summons an infernal crystal, which has two modes: a singular beam that ramps up damage over time, or targeting multiple enemies at the cost of lower damage. This is basically the Infernal Tower from Clash of Clans. The Facet and Lattice allows you to right click to guard, and attacks become empowered after a guard. The Needler sticks spikes into enemies to build up heat, and overheated enemies explode, dealing massive damage. The Coalescence charges up a magical volley of arrows, which leech mana when they collide. And finally, the Magmite Vac-Pack, which fires little Magmites that can stick onto enemies. There are also some other little things scattered throughout the mod which I haven't included, and even Starlight River's own boss rush. This will be its own video, so subscribe and goodbye.